listening to Best Forevers, a podcast for kindred spirits, a podcast that encourages you to love more on your friends and to further consider the issues that plague friendship. I'm Alysa Lucas, and I love Thanksgiving. Not because of the original roots, because that's absolutely tragic and horrific and horrible. And if you'd like to learn more about it and be utterly depressed and experience a whole host of cognitive dissonance about the holiday, then I would highly recommend listening to the Dollops episode on the topic. But for me, the idea of having a break from school and work to be with my family, to watch the Detroit Lions, cross your fingers, hopefully win, and eating food together is something that I can totally get on board with. More recently, though, our holiday season has started to welcome in versions of holidays that include friends, like Friendsgiving. I don't think we need the new name per se, but just glad to see that we're making more space for our friendships so we can share all aspects of life together. For someone who talks a lot about friendship and wants to celebrate friendships, I've only been to one Friendsgiving and wasn't even called that, but a lot has changed. Ashley Fetters recently wrote the Atlantic article entitled How Friendsgiving Took Over Millennial Culture and about how this holiday has evolved, especially in the last 5 to 6 years. Thanksgiving has been a holiday spent primarily with family unless left behind somewhere, not being able to get home, like when I was in graduate school, and thus has not been seen as its own day to be spent exclusively with friends, but that has changed. You can find articles and Pinterest posts about hosting Friendsgiving events, and I often see photos of friends' celebrations all over social media around this time of year. And an article by Rebecca Jennings on the Vox called Friendsgiving Because Friends Are the New Family highlights how friendship can be, but is not always viewed as a critical relationship in our life. But much like the quote, friends are the family we choose, maybe things are changing. Don't we want to celebrate our life with our friends? Certainly life includes such friendship-related events like bachelor and bachelorette parties, but not everyone gets married. So how can we celebrate friendship as is? Besides dinners outs, game nights, birthday parties, should there be a holiday just for friends? Or maybe we're not there yet. First, we start with cultural events like a bachelor party. And second, this is our current phase. We jazz up already existing holidays like Friendsgiving. And then perhaps then, and only then, when we get to this future moment, we can create holidays for friends only. But what might those holidays be? What would they be called? When would they take place? Certainly, if you got some ideas, let me know. Let's brainstorm, friends. You can email me your ideas at bestforeverspod@gmail.com or hit me up on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram at bestforeverspod. But of course, as we travel home from the holidays, hopefully safely, and start to think about making plans for other upcoming holidays, it does seem important to consider Friendsgiving. In fact, many of us will be enjoying leftovers, second Thanksgivings, or even our own Friendsgivings. So let's stretch out Turkey Day a little bit longer because loving our friends every day, and especially during critical days like holidays, is important. So I asked my friend Tierney, who you might remember from the episode You're the Chauncey Billups of Crises, where we answer questions about stress and so much more. Tierney has hosted many Friendsgivings. In fact, it was the first time I'd ever heard of it when I got invited to one of her parties. So I thought she'd be a great friend to chat about it with. So here's Tierney and I talking about Friendsgiving. Hi, Tierney. Happy Thanksgiving.
Hi, Lisa. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Whoop, whoop. I actually wanted to talk to you a little bit about Friendsgiving because the first time I was ever invited to a Friendsgiving was by you, but I've never actually been to any of your Friendsgivings.
That's true.
Not because I didn't want to go, but they turn out to be usually on the weekend of my national conference that I go to. So I always missed out on them. But when I think of Friendsgiving, you're the first person I think of because it was the first time I ever heard of Friendsgiving. So could you tell me a little bit about why you decided to do Friendsgivings?
Oh, that's a good question. I think that for multitude of reasons, excuse me. But one, as you get older, your friends become a big part of your family. You know, you kind of, you form this close-knit group, or even not so close, but you form a group of people that become your family and people that you love to be around. And I think that you want to celebrate with them just as much as you, or more than you want to spend time with your actual family. Yeah. So that was the impetus for it. And I've been doing it for, I don't know, since early adulthood. So since I was in college, because I was living in Texas and my parents lived in New Orleans, it was too far of a drive to go for Thanksgiving, as well as the logic behind having a break a week and a half before finals time, where you're writing all these papers and trying to I couldn't justify 2 days of travel and not getting my work done. So they're like, you're going to see you in 2 weeks, so just get your stuff done. So we would have, for anybody who was in town who wasn't going home, we would have a little Friendsgiving at home, and cooked it in my little mini apartment with a half-size stove. And
that's so funny. When I was at Penn State, my first couple of years, I lived in a studio apartment. It was a studio apartment, but then there was a bedroom and a bathroom, but everything else was like one room. And my kitchen was like a mini kitchen, and my mom and dad came out for Thanksgiving one year, and it was like the greatest victory ever, was making Thanksgiving in that half-size oven,
Right. It can be done. I mean, you just have to cut up the turkey or do roasted chicken instead, but it can be done. It can be done.
And that's the thing is, like, I have always lived in the same town as my parents, except when I was away at Penn State and lived in New York. And I would either come home after my national conference with them. And I think I did Thanksgiving by myself one year because I had a job interview. And so it was like, I don't have time to do all that travel. And so, I did a rotisserie chicken because I was like, this is not the year to figure out how to cook a turkey on my own.
Right.
And I made my grandma's famous cheesy potatoes just for me. I felt very Kevin McAllister from Home Alone. A cheese pizza just for me.
Yes.
And I think I bought like a cranberry juice, like the fancy juices, like sparkling cranberry. I don't know. I thought I was fancy, but I think I had one Friendsgiving, and it was when I was at Penn State, and Tara made the turkey, and she made a couple dishes, and I made a couple dishes. Like, we both called our families to get recipes. But this is something, it sounds like you've been doing for a long time, and I feel like we didn't call it that all the time.
No, not at all. It was just hey, let's have Thanksgiving together because we're all alone. we're all not with our families, and we didn't call it Friendsgiving. I don't think I called it that until the one a few years ago.
The media told us to.
The one you missed because of NCA. But it was just more of a, if you can't be with your family, or maybe don't want to be with your family, it's a good substitute for, because everybody expects to, or I don't know, marketing, Maxwell House, all of these commercials make you feel inadequate or less than, or you make you have to be with your family. And not everybody's family is awesome. Not everybody's family is somebody you want to be around, and you don't always have time. Or, I mean, for most of my adulthood, I was working. Like I worked in the hospitality industry where we cooked Thanksgiving for other people. And so we would celebrate Thanksgiving not on Thanksgiving. And even when I was growing up with my family, we were very unorthodox with our Thanksgiving. Like I think we had 3 Thanksgivings at Cinderella's castle in Disney World because we lived in Florida. Yeah, we live in Florida. It's 80 degrees. What are you going to do? So
sounds amazing.
But for me, it's always been just, the whole point is being around your close others. So whatever that looks like. So
what are some of because you are a chef, like you got culinary skills to pay the bills, honey. What are some of the favorite dishes that you had either growing up or at Friendsgivings? Like, what are your go-tos for this meal?
My mom makes this awesome stuffing, and it's Pepperidge Farm stuffing mix, but she doctors it up, right? And I mean, come on, it's like, it took me going to culinary school to teach my mom how to make gravy. Okay. She had never, her gravy was comical growing up. Like, it was lumpy, or it was too thick, or it was too thin, or she'd never been taught how to make a roux. She owns up to this. It's okay. And that like the entire price of me being in Paris and going to culinary school was totally worth it now that she can make the most amazing gravy ever. So
that's awesome.
So it's a wash. But she would make this amazing stuffing that was just like, I would eat it cold. Like, after it was done, it was get super crispy. And I don't like it in the bird. I like it, baked outside for a multitude of reasons. But that's, the crispiness factor is my favorite. But also this thing that it's called corn souffle, and it was something my aunt used to make. And it
sounds good already. Corn's one of my favorite non-vegetables.
Yes. It's okay. So here are some of the ingredients. Okay, 2 cups of heavy cream.
Yum. I'm on board. Tell me more.
4 cups of fresh corn kernels.
Yum.
Okay. It's got 1 stick of butter melted. What else? Sugar, flour, some baking soda, and salt. And there you go. And 6 eggs whipped all the way together. So it is not low cal. It is not low fat. It is, and that's not the time. And Thanksgiving is not the time for any of those words to be there, totally. Right? So, like, you're gonna have this one meal. You're gonna have maybe have a little bit of toast for breakfast, and then you're gonna have this one meal, and then you're gonna pass out watching football. Okay, so let's just
go Lions.
Or whatever. Yeah, exactly. Go Lions or any football game you'd like to watch, but or.
No, my Thanksgiving is always, I think last year when I went to my parents' house, I wore my pajamas there. We watched football, we ate, we watched a movie, and then I drove home in my pajamas.
That sounds absolutely amazing. That sounds like a perfect day. I like
a non-drama-free Thanksgiving, and, our Thanksgiving in my family has always been the immediate family, but like you, we worked even as like teenagers, we worked at the movie theater, and so we were open on Thanksgiving, so Thanksgiving was always planned around our work schedules because so many popular movies come out on Thanksgiving, right? Sure. That weekend. The weekend before. So it's really busy. And then I would say during school, like that's the time to get caught up on stuff, right? So when you're an undergrad or a grad student, it's like, oh, let me do these things to get caught up. And now it's like, okay, where have I created my little community? Where are my tribes? Where are the people that I've chosen, right? I think we're starting to discover that we have all these holidays, and that we can't always be with our family, whether that's by choice or not. Maybe we don't want to be with them. And I know that the last couple Thanksgivings, people have talked a lot about like how politics impacts going home and things like that, where people have different points of views, and how do you have those hard conversations over corn souffle? I'd probably eat the entire corn souffle.
Booze. Lots and lots of booze.
Yes. And so it's like, I think we're starting to realize that we want to celebrate these things with a lot more people than our family. And it's not saying that we're taking away from family. It's saying that we want to add in our friends more. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, your family is, especially if you're looking at your parental units, they age, and it gets harder for them they may not be the best cooks, or they might not have the energy or the stamina to and that Thanksgiving is a huge stressor. It's a huge, to make all this food, to be in charge of all of that. It's always nice to go over to somebody else's house and bring a dish. It's always, even if it's another family member, an aunt, an uncle, or going over there, it's much less stressful than organizing it yourself. And if you expand how big the group is, it becomes less work for everybody to do it. I think that's kind of, the inspiration for Thanksgiving in the first place is everybody coming together and, being together, not just immediate family, but a bigger group, and being thankful for everybody in your life. So,
well, and I also think Friendsgiving is more of a collaboration in some ways, because you talked about how you might make some dishes, but then other people would bring dishes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I would supply the deep fried turkey, and, my mom's stuffing, and maybe the corn souffle, and maybe some green beans. But then everybody else can bring, some starters, or with their favorite side dish. If it's the candied yams with marshmallows on top, or the glazed carrots, or I don't know, whatever anybody's favorite dish is. That's what I love, is seeing what people their favorite dish is, and bringing it, and that kind of shows where they come from, and people from different cultures have different foods that they would bring. And
I think you could see family traditions turn into friendship traditions, or passing of traditions or information, to be when I had the one Friendsgiving when I was at Penn State, my grandma used to make a white Jell-O, is what it's called, and then putting raspberries or something on top of it. And so I made that, and the people that Tara and I had over at our apartment had never had it before. So it's oh, that's great. And it's exchanging the recipes and things like that. Did you ever have any other, so when you would have Friendsgiving and people would come over, did you ever plan anything besides like food or having the people come? Did you ever have any activities, or was it just like, let's see how the night goes?
Well, lately it's been a lot of people enjoy just the conversation and the talking and just hanging out, and everybody's kind of comatose by the end of it, from all the food. But I think early on we would, go around and talk, play games afterwards, or we'd like talk about what we were thankful for and what we missed, and what do we miss about Thanksgiving at our parents' house, or aunt, uncle, whomever kind of house, and grandma's, that sort of thing. But I do remember I did give Thanksgiving to, when I was living in Paris. I had a bunch of French friends and my French boyfriend at the time.
Oh, oui.
All of these, and they had never had Thanksgiving, obviously, because they're in France. But but trying to procure all of the the cranberry sauce for in Paris was difficult. And there actually was a store called Thanksgiving, which has had all the American stuff. So I raided there. And
serious?
Yeah, I got ocean spray cranberry sauce, and then I also got the Pepperidge Farm stuffing mix. And
that is
amazing, right? And then I also got French's onion straw things to go on top of them, and mushroom soup. Okay, like canned mushroom soup.
Go
and
America!
I'm like
all the classics.
All the classics. This on the metro, getting there, and I had my boyfriend at the time get yams, and I said, "Oh, get 6 yams," and I'm thinking they're the, maybe 6 inches long, tiny yams, and in Paris, what they called yams, and when I translated, are these African kind of, they're 12-inch to 14-inch long giant tubers. and he had gotten as many as I'd asked for. But that was.
You had yams for days, man.
We had yams for days, and he rode a motorcycle. He had to put all of these in his backpack, and he was just like, anyway.
Okay,
it was funny.
On another episode, we're gonna have to talk about your French boyfriend with a motorcycle, because I've never heard about him.
Oh, yeah.
You learn new things all the time about your friends over Friendsgiving or recording about Friendsgiving.
To be young and 22, yeah.
And getting 14-inch yams.
Yams. I used 2 of them, right? Anyway.
What are we going to do with the rest of these? I don't
know. I don't remember. But we had a great time. We talked about what we were thankful for, and it was just a really, really cool thing to expose these Parisians to. This sort of, the turkey is not something they typically eat a ton of. So
that's really cool.
Yeah. So I think most of Thanksgiving, for me at least, has always been like the eating, and then the talking and catching up with people. If we're traveled and we've met up with people, it's the in the act of cooking it together and working together to cook it, and then also cleaning up. It's a huge thing too.
I really try to get out of that.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
It's the worst, I know.
Because we have that rule. I cooked it, you get to clean it up rule. And I'm like, yeah, but I can't cook, so that's not fair. Or maybe I should take classes from Tierney.
I will teach you the corn soup way.
Are you patient, Tierney?
Yeah. Am I patient? Absolutely. I teach cooking for a living, so yes, I'm patient.
Fair. That's fair. So I have 2 questions for you.
Sure.
One, what is a recommended alcoholic beverage that you would suggest for Thanksgiving? This time of season, like, what would you suggest to go along with the meal? Or at this point, because Thanksgiving happened yesterday, that people are having with their leftovers, or if they're having Friendsgiving this weekend?
If you enjoy a good wine level beverage, like I say, a good sparkling wine, white wine, pairs well with all sorts of turkey nonsense. It cuts through the grease, and then you're also not drinking so heavily that you get in a fight with Uncle, Herbert or anything. So,
goddamn Uncle Herbert, stop stirring up some shit.
Right? But some people like Fox. It's okay. But anyway, it's a good pace yourself kind of beverage. You're not going to shoot it or chug it and then if you like beer, I think having a light, crispy lager would be good as well. And as far as like heavier stuff, if you need like the heavier stuff, I made this. It turned out really well. It was an old fashioned made traditionally with, the orange flavor profile. But instead of maraschino cherries, I candied some cranberries and just kind of took some fresh cranberries and kind of stewed them a little bit in some simple syrup. And I muddled those with the oranges. And it gave a little level of bitterness and kind of a holiday level. Everything's cranberry or pumpkin spice or what have you around this time. So I thought it added a little, festivity to the normal old fashioned, so maraschino cherry. Yeah. So people seem to enjoy that. We went through an entire handle of Maker's Mark that night. So.
Well, the thing is, if you're not driving and Thanksgiving's a little rough, you might have all of those things.
Yes. And the answer is yes. Yes, all of them. Yeah. Or wherever you can get your hands on, yes.
Whatever you can get your hands on. I always have to drive because Thanksgiving is usually a one-day event for me now that I live an hour from my parents. Either I go there or they come here. This year we went to my aunt's, so living in Michigan. So it's a good time to see family, but it's also this is the time of the semester, it's not just for students, but professors too have a lot going on. And it's like trying to finish up the semester.
I have to write some exams. Exactly. I have to finish grading some papers that are turned in this week.
I try to start my syllabi for next semester so that I don't have to do all of it over winter break, which feels shorter.
Yes, it is much shorter. Ours is actually almost 3 weeks this year, which is just crazy. So
crazy long or
crazy long. It's been a week and a half lately. What? So we've been
that would be something I'm not thankful for, which was going to be my last question. We should each say something we're thankful for this year, and it can be anything you want.
I'm thankful that my family is all happy and healthy.
And safe, just like my line.
Yeah, happy, healthy, and safe right now. And we're going to last minute figure out whether my brother's family didn't have chicken pox.
Oh, chicken pox. I still have a scar.
I know, yeah, I do too.
From itching.
Yeah, right on my eyebrow, yes.
Mine's on my stomach.
Oh, fun.
I must have been eating and scratching my stomach like at Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Yeah, so my mom is actually going to St. Louis to see my brother and his wife, and there are 3 children, and they have 2 new boys.
Twins!
A few months old, and they are identical twin boys, and so hopefully, and they're all healthy and happy and don't have chicken pox, and so we're all very grateful for that.
Yes.
So Chris and we went to his mother's. She lives in a assisted living facility. And so we did her lunch, and then we went to our own Friendsgiving at a friend's of ours' house, did their Thanksgiving that evening. So it was quite nice.
See, so you can do family and Friendsgiving.
Yes, we have a huge stomach so that we can
And there's always a different compartment for dessert, which is one of my favorite lines.
Yeah. What's your favorite pie for Thanksgiving? What's your favorite pie?
A cheesecake.
Oh, cheesecake? Okay.
It's not a pie. Right. No.
Is it pumpkin cheesecake or just typical,
Well, I don't really remember desserts like that so much.
Okay.
I would say I do like pumpkin pie, but I only like it around Thanksgiving, just have a taste of it. And in the fall, my mom would make apple crisp. So I feel like that would be more similar. But we had specific desserts in my family for Thanksgiving. We had the white Jell-O. We had this strawberry gelatin pretzel dessert that was really good.
That sounds fascinating.
And then there's a frozen fruit salad with marshmallows in it. I'm going to have to see if I can get pictures because I know my cousin Crystal makes that stuff.
That's awesome.
We don't make that. And so, I don't really remember having a lot of those, but the desserts that we did had were really different. And so sort of really memorable and not usual to other families. So I felt like it was something special to the Nickley family, my mom's side of the family.
Yeah.
So what about you? What's your favorite pie?
Oh, so they always come down to this argument if we're cooking Thanksgiving at home, what pies do we get? What are they? Because there's so many options, and as you know, we had pie at our wedding instead of cake. So we're pie people. Okay. So
more people come if there's punch and pie.
Punch and pie.
Which is from South Park, one of my favorite movies.
I didn't understand. Okay, anyway.
We can quote that all day, a different day.
But I grew up in the South. Okay, so it was always kind of warmish around Thanksgiving. It was not what it is right now in Michigan. So cold and rainy and snowy, and it's January already.
Gross.
But I love a good pecan pie. That's you don't see that here very often, like up in Michigan. So then would be apple, but not with a crust on top. I want the Dutch apple. I want the crumble. So like what your mom, when you talk about like a apple crisp sounds absolutely perfect for me. Like that would be my go-to.
I like apple pie with ice cream, which I don't know if that happens a lot.
It has to be warmed with ice cream, vanilla. Okay.
Sorry, I was just thinking of that scene from When Harry Met Sally.
Yes, but if it's not warm, I don't want it. And if you can't put it on the side, I don't.
I don't want it at all. No, just the pie, but then no ice cream. Like I'll have to find that quote because it's so funny. She's so specific with her pies.
Yes, I'm not that picky, but yeah, I enjoy a good warmed apple pie with a Dutch apple pie with a little bit of vanilla ice cream on top. It doesn't have to be good vanilla ice cream. It just has to be.
It just has
there.
to be
it just has to be cold in relation to the warm apple pie.
Exactly.
And then down to pumpkin pie, but I don't really like the crust. I just eat the custard part out.
Yeah, exactly.
With like a excuse my language, but a absolute shit ton of whipped cream, like Ready Whip.
Shit ton is just a technical term in culinary, isn't it?
Yeah,
like
it's a
you're
culinary
like,
term,
okay, we need a shit ton of ranch on this. Wait, do chefs use ranch?
Like half a can of Ready Whip on top. You know, it's more Ready Whip than actual pumpkin pie. Yeah,
sounds great.
So yeah.
Well, I'll say that I am thankful for you, our friendship, and being able to talk about friendship all the time with people. That's been really cool. And I am also thankful that everyone in my family is doing well and my friends are doing well. And Ferguson is laying on my podcasting table right now, and I can see all of the fur that he is dandering. Can I use that word?
He's expressing. Yes.
He's got fur coming out of him. So it's, I'm grateful for all his dander, which he likes to call love glitter. Just a glitter show up in here.
Yes.
He's sitting under the lamp, so it looks like he's like...
It's like some warm.
Yeah, like the food item at the store that's under the lamp.
I'm the roast beef, okay? It's ding, okay.
He looks done.
Slice me. Awesome.
Stick the fork in me. I'm done.
I love the voice you give Ferguson. That's awesome. Okay.
Oh, my little Ferguson. Ferguson, say hi to Aunt Tierney.
Hi, buddy.
He's usually pretty mouthy, but now he's like, I don't understand what you're doing and why you need to be doing it.
I'm not your monkey. I'm not your monkey. I am not here to
just
entertain
because
you.
I'm the producer doesn't mean you can make me do anything. Thanks.
I don't actually produce, okay?
I think he's staring at me because he's like, wrap it up. I want snacks.
Snicky snacks time.
Which reminds me, I'm going to the grocery store and I need to get them some more turkey fancy feast so they can have leftovers too.
And just do not go to the grocery store unless you absolutely have to on Wednesday.
Oh,
ever.
The Wednesday before Thanksgiving, don't do it.
Yeah, that was a dumpster fire. Do not do it. It was awful this year.
The first 2 weeks before Thanksgiving is a dumpster fire, in my opinion.
It is not what you want to be subjecting yourself to. So yeah, if I could, that same thing with right before Christmas. You don't want to be going
I already asked my mom. One of our traditions at Christmas is to have the Sara Lee coffee cake, like this cheap, but delicious coffee cake. And she's telling me last week, like, I got all the things for Thanksgiving, and I was like, yeah, sounds good. Did you get the coffee cake? She's like, no, they didn't have any. I was like, oh my God. Red alert. I'm putting everyone on alert, all my Facebook friends. If you're in Mount Pleasant, where I live, you're in Midland, 30 minutes away, you're in Lansing, an hour away. Everyone needs to be on the lookout for Sara Lee coffee cake because we can't, and it can't have nuts because that stuff sucks. I mean, it doesn't suck. Sorry, Sarah Lee. I'd love to have you as a sponsor. But I just don't prefer nuts in my coffee cake. Sorry.
All right. Hey, we all have our own likes and dislikes. It's perfect.
Well, Tierney, I hope one day that we can actually share Friendsgiving together. And you know what? Maybe
Yes.
it doesn't even have to be in November. We can just pick a day and be like, we're doing
Make a turkey.
Friendsgiving. Yeah.
Yes.
But until then, I'm sure, we'll see each other. But the next major friendship holiday is obviously Galentine's Day. So
For sure. Yeah, we will make that happen.
we're going to make that happen. So thank you so much for being
You're
on
welcome.
Best Rubbers again, because we love you here.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Boop, boop.
It's been a pleasure.
I do hope everyone had a relaxing or productive holiday, a drama-free or a drama-filled holiday, a friend-filled or a family-filled holiday. Basically, I want for you whatever you were hoping for, whatever makes you feel happy, healthy, and safe. Maybe your holiday was full of old traditions, new traditions, old friends, new friends, coworkers, family, and more. Basically, was it everything that you hoped it would be? For some of you, were you glad that you survived? Or, sometimes I'm glad to have some time to myself. And maybe that's the case for some of you as well. I do think the media can put a lot of pressure on us to have a good time and to have the best relationships ever. And that isn't always the case, right? That life is full of the light and it's full of the dark. And we are often balancing the good with the bad. It is a reminder that making friends can be difficult. Keeping those friends can be even more difficult. And getting friends together for some event or holiday can be the most difficult because although many of us have friends, maybe we don't have a group of friends in one spot. So how can we have a holiday like Friendsgiving when people are so far? It's difficult not only because of that distance, but work, school, family obligations, and so much more. Therefore, I think we can feel bad for not having Friendsgivings or Thanksgivings or other holidays. But everyone's experiences and plans can be very different. And so I have a few ideas about how we can cope with these kinds of holidays and these times of year when we don't feel like we might be included. And we can have a plan for our own Friendsgivings or other friendship ideas throughout the year. So here we go. First, during holidays when you cannot be with friends and even family and you still like to connect, my first suggestion is to consider other ways in which you can reach out. For example, you can send cards or letters via snail mail. Everyone loves to get mail. I mean, I do, so I assume everyone else does too. As long as it's not a bill or like a letter telling me my student loan has increased, I'm good. I love mail. You can set up times to chat on the phone, to FaceTime, or to even play games like Ticket to Ride like Sarah and Jen told us about from the episode Like a Trex Like. So they might be at a great distance, but they'll make a plan to over FaceTime play a game together. And I think that's a great way to spend some time with the people that we care about. Second, when I've been alone for holidays or birthdays, I make plans for the things that I like the most. So I'm about to go all out for myself. Some people might call that self-care. I just like having a plan of action so that I know that I can spend whatever special day in a way that I would want to. So maybe I'll go see an early movie, get a favorite meal on the way home, and pick a show to binge watch while I work on something else around the house or with the cats or some other hobby or catching up with other people. In fact, I found this post on Pinterest which suggested writing down all the things you like to do or want to do, even if it's something small, like get myself a teddy bear coffee at Big B, or something bigger like working on a new hobby or doing research about some trip you want to take. You cut those up into sheets of paper and you put them in a jar. You can shake them up. And then at the beginning of the week or maybe around that holiday season, so I actually used it when I was planning my week, so I would do it each week. But you could do that or you could do it around the holidays. And basically you pull out 2 or 3 of those sheets for the week or for that holiday, so you have something to look forward to. So it might be like, watch this show, catch up with this friend, knit, read this book, get a coffee, whatever the case is. You have several things throughout the week or the holiday season in which to look forward to. Sometimes these things might be with other people, and sometimes they're by ourselves. But at least we have something that we can be like, this is something good that's happening this week. Maybe it's Taco Tuesday. I'm always about Taco Tuesday. And maybe with leftovers, you can have turkey tacos. I don't know. You do you. But the idea is thinking about the things that we enjoy our time doing, things that make us happy, and being sure we don't forget to include those things in our life. Third, it's not too early to start thinking about the next official Friendsgiving, which I know isn't until November 2019, but you might start thinking about where you might be in November 2019, who you might want to invite, what sort of things you would like to do. Maybe you start like a notes page on your phone, or you have something on your computer, just some ideas to jot down. You have a journal, you have a Pinterest board, whatever the case is. And then it's something you can start thinking about and maybe talking to some people about, putting feelers out there, seeing what people think. And then as you get closer, you can send out invites, maybe make a private event on Facebook and invite people, and then you can start to plan it in advance. And therefore, you might be able to plan for something next year, having a Friendsgiving before the holiday or after the holiday. Fourth, even more, I'm a huge believer that holidays do not always have to be celebrated on the day that they're scheduled. So sometimes I think it's too much pressure to have holidays on this day, right? Even if we take a second and think about romantic relationships, Valentine's Day is so much pressure. That's also a lot of pressure for single people to have to like celebrate this day. And are they going to have a new date? Are they going to have a date that day? Or are they going to try to figure out something with their friends? There can just be a lot of pressure on holidays. And so I think about like if you want to do a Friendsgiving, it doesn't need to be before or after Thanksgiving. You can do Friendsgiving in December or January. There's nothing wrong with that. Last year, my Murderino friends and I, the friends that I made through the podcast, My Favorite Murder, we did Secret Santa at the end of January. It took the holiday stress away from us, but it also gave us something to look forward to, time together. You know, and January is that time where everyone's sort of experiencing the winter blues, well, at least here in Michigan, right, with the snow and the cold. We have the fatigue from Halloween to New Year holiday season. And so it's something like in the new year to be like, all right, let's start out the year right. And we have this other thing. It doesn't have to be around Christmas or whatever holidays that you might celebrate. And that, I think, is really important. You do Friendsgiving or Christmas or Kwanzaa or Valentine's Day whenever you want. What works best for you, for your life, for your friends, for your family. You don't even have to have a reason to celebrate, right? It's Saturday. Let's get together and plan something, right? Fifth, smaller groups or pairs of friends, you can think about doing a monthly dinner potluck or maybe prepping food together on the weekend so that not only you have time to spend together, maybe you can eat dinner after prepping food all day and then you have food for the rest of the week. So that gives you a chance to see your friends once a week, or maybe you do a monthly potluck where you have themed dinners. Oh my goodness, there's so many ideas. Maybe it's January, you do tacos and margaritas. Apparently, I'm on a taco kick. Maybe February is pasta and wine, or you can have themed dinners or parties around books, movies, TV shows, games, crafts. The ideas are endless. And sometimes I think we just stick to what maybe the media tells us to do or what has just always been the case, these holidays that have been around, you know, since whenever they were created. I was about to say since the dawn of time, which is a really great first sentence in a paper that I've read before by students. And, you know, maybe there were holidays then, maybe there weren't. But the idea is that these holidays existed before us, but that doesn't mean we have to do it on that exact path or that calendar or that schedule. There's lots of different ways in which we can celebrate life and each other and our friendships. And really what it comes down to, and it's an idea that we talk about a lot in the podcast, and that is maintaining our friendships, right? If we choose our friends as family, right, we get to choose who our friends are. So they are our chosen family. Then we need to work together to choose how we can spend time together, choose to work on our friendship together, and choose to celebrate all the days of life together. Like, how do we do that? What works best for our friendship? And I think that is something that can help us take the stress away from having a Friendsgiving if we don't feel like that's something that can happen. Or if you have Friendsgiving, that's great too. These are other ways in which to maintain your friendships throughout the year. And it isn't that important. And it's not just 4 or 5 days a year or critical life events like weddings and babies, that there's lots of ways in which we can be friends together. So if you like what you have in your ear holes, there's a few things you can do. I'd love to have you follow Best Forevers on social media. You can find the podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Best Forevers Pod, and I'm Dr. Alysa Lucas on Twitter. On social media, I post a lot of different videos and memes and GIFs and quotes from the episode, and I give updates, and there's lots of discussion in the Facebook group. So there's lots of ways you can get involved and be part of friendship discussion if you follow Best Forevers on social media. And also, I want to hear your Friendsgiving stories. I want to hear the creative ways in which you have celebrated friendship around holidays. Have you created your own holiday? Tell me everything. I'm always accepting new stories friendship origin stories, friendship stories of any kind, any time, any questions, any responses to previous episodes. So feel free to email me at bestforevers@gmail.com. Additionally, if you care about friendship like I do and want to support Best Forevers, you might consider supporting the movement to love on our friends more on patreon.com/bestforeverspod. On here, this is a way to support the podcast and my journey through podcasting about friendship. It's really great. There's different levels in which you can get involved, and there's different cool perks and free stuff and access early to episodes and other bonus videos. And I would love to call you Friends with Benefits. It's my cute little name for patrons, as well as you get to be called Ferguson's interns, because Ferguson, my cat, who is sitting next to me staring at me right now, is always podcasting. So he is definitely the producer, and he needs all the help he can get. So I sure hope you will support me and Ferguson's journey to love on friendship more. I'm also doing a special campaign called Join Me on a Bench. I'm raising money to obtain benches, give those benches some necessary tender love and care, and etching the names of donators on those benches so that I can deliver them to places in which communication, friendship, inclusion, and support can be encouraged, like schools, parks, etc. You can learn more about it at bestforeverspod.com by clicking on the Join Me on a Bench tab. And I have to say that I have my first bench, and I'm getting that ready over break, and we'll be ready to deliver to a school in early 2019. And so I'll be posting pictures on Patreon and online so people can see the process. And if you'd like to help me promote this cause, I have a bench buddy. Each week on Tuesday, I post who is helping me or who has joined me on a bench. And if you would like to join me on a bench or already have, send me a picture of you sitting on a bench. You know, you might look through pictures and realize you got lots of pictures of you sitting on benches, much like I do. I don't know why, why I sit on benches, but I do. Or if you see a bench, maybe over this holiday weekend, you know, after the turkey and that sort of thing, and you're with family and friends, or in the next several weeks, you find yourself somewhere cool and it's snowing or it's sunny and you enjoy a nice conversation on a bench, don't forget to take a picture and send it to me, and you could be Bench Buddy of the Week. I sure hope you will help me promote this cause and join me on a bench. I'll be saving you a seat. Finally, thanks for listening to Best Forevers. I appreciate every single listen, like, follow, post, and retweet. So please subscribe, rate, and review Best Forevers. It's very helpful to getting the podcast out there to other people who might be interested in it. And of course, if you have friends that you think might be interested in Best Forevers, be sure to share it with them. It warms my friend-loving heart. And if you've enjoyed this podcast and like to hear more of me in your ear holes, meaning you don't have Alysa fatigue yet, then know that my new podcast, Fatalities, is now available. It is a true crime podcast where we talk about the cases that are geographically and emotionally close to us. These are cases that have stuck with us for years, and we talk about the case and the reasons why it stuck with us. And if there's something we can do, we put it into action. There are 2 episodes of Fatalities available, and you can find the podcast on Apple, Spotify, Podbean, and on other podcatchers. I sure hope you'll check it out, because Fatalities can give you your true crime needs, whereas you can come to Best Forevers for your friendship needs. This week, over the holiday, I am on Twitter at Best Forevers Pod, recommending my favorite podcast. I'm listening to at least one episode of the podcast each day and recommending those podcasts to you. And so you can go to my Twitter and see on Sunday night, I always post a schedule of what I'll be listening to this week. But given it that it's a holiday weekend, thinking about you might be traveling back home or back to school or back to wherever, that you might want some podcasts in your ear holes. So these are the ones that I recommend. Good Nightmare, Not Your Little Lady, The Cutaways, Boozy Movies, and of course, Best Forevers and Fatalities. But today, for this episode, I specifically like to recommend Spoop Hour by Courtney and Sasha. Spoop Hour is a friend of Best Forevers and Fatalities. They were my first guests on Fatalities when we talked about Slender Man. They've been on Best Forevers to talk about their friendship, and they've had me on Spoop Hour to talk about hauntings at colleges and universities across the world. And they're a lot of fun. So I would definitely say that Courtney and Sasha are 2 ladies that I would definitely have Friendsgiving with if I could. And I think that you would want to celebrate your holiday travel with them in your ear holes. Spoop Hour is a paranormal podcast hosted by a couple Halloweenies. So they don't always enjoy the scariness. I think they say they laugh through all the stories, because if not, they'd be crying. And one of Sasha's favorite quotes or most common quotes is, "Thanks, I hate it." So if you'd like to hear paranormal stories, interesting stories about cryptids, and play along with the games that they have that are all related to paranormal, then definitely subscribe, rate, and review to Spoop Hour, which is on all your favorite podcatchers, and be sure to get them in your ear holes. They're so much fun, and you won't want to miss out on all of this spoopy paranormal stuff. And seriously, folks, I'm a Halloweenie too, and their podcast is one of my favorites. So if you're really like, I don't like horror, paranormal type stuff, you can make it through with Courtney and Sasha. They'll help you out. All right, folks. So until next time, enjoy some cranberry old-fashioned and corn souffle, and maybe set up next year's Friendsgiving, because without our friends, who would we be?
Hey, Sasha.
Hey, Courtney.
Where can you get hot takes about ghosts, cryptids, farts, and cats?
I don't know, where?
On our podcast, Spoop Hour.
Oh, that's right.
Each week, we talk about the things that spook us out, and we laugh through our fear.
You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Spoop Hour, and you can listen to our podcast on iTunes, Podbean, or really anywhere else that you get your podcasts. Feel free to also drop us a line at spoophour@gmail.com.
We want to hear about your ghosts.
Thanks.